Braden Holder on the Middle Georgia Sports Live weekly show. Braden, great to have you, man. How you been?
I've been good, man. Been staying busy this summer, and Brett, I think we got some exciting things we want to talk about.
Oh, no doubt. Obviously, we finished up the 2025-2026 athletic seasons and school year, and we're in the dog days of summer right now. It's starting to get a little bit hot outside, even though it's been a relatively tame summer. We'll call it up until this point, but Braden, obviously, kind of getting things lined up, getting ready to head into fall sports. It won't be that far away. We've got about 8 weeks until football kicks off. Softball will kick off before then. Man, what are some of the things we're looking for here as we get ready for basically the inaugural Middle Georgia Sports Live season athletic school year coming up? What are we looking forward to, man?
I mean, it's going to be a blast, man. But first of all, we're coming off a hot finish from last school year. Stratford girls soccer state championship, FPD baseball state championship. It's been a heck of a finish, Brett. I know we got to experience that together. It was a long week, but well worth it. And obviously, for those two programs, those two schools, it was something they could celebrate. But as far as what we're looking forward for this year, obviously football is the big thing. We got a lot of good teams coming back, a lot of teams that we're expecting to make some moves. We'll talk about that later in the show, but also flag football, volleyball, softball, some of these other fall sports that we're going to be able to cover. Brett, it's going to be a blast.
Yeah, no doubt. Obviously, we will release our list as we get closer into July of our partner schools for this inaugural season. We've got a great list starting to shape up and line together, if you will, and we'll release that as we get closer to the start of things. But Braden, you mentioned it, a great end for some of the schools that we've been covering thus far to the year. Obviously, state championships. You had FPD winning a big baseball state championship down in Statesboro, Georgia, at the end of May. You had the soccer great games there on the girls' side, an outstanding finish between FPD and Stratford. And I expect to see some of those same things going into next year, Braden. You've got some outstanding football teams in the Middle Georgia area, and we will actually catch up with our special guest, we're going to talk through a little bit of what it's looking like for Middle Georgia from a football perspective, mostly in that segment. But I tell you what, I'm excited to see what happens. It's always good to end the year with a bang like we did, and then we're going to just take that momentum and head straight into the fall and see what those seasons. And you mentioned some sports I'm really excited about, man. Flag football, I'm telling you, flag football is coming, man. It's a sport on the rise, and we're going to have some good schools with some good teams here in the Middle Georgia area that we're going to be able to talk about as well.
For sure. It's going to be a blast, Brett. But you got anything else before we go into this next segment?
I was just also going to say, hey, also keep on your radar. We will have weekly rankings for each of these sports that we'll be covering for all the local schools in the area. We'll be bringing those out shortly as we get closer to the start of the school year. Be sure to tune in on all your social media platforms, Instagram, Facebook, everything that's out there. Middle Georgia Sports Live will be out there covering it. We'll be giving you our rankings, our thoughts, and you can tell us if we're right or wrong. And that's the beauty of social media, right? So, but what we'll do is we'll take a quick break. We'll come back. We've got a special guest right around the corner. We'll talk a little bit about pigskin in the mid-state, and then venture out and talk a little bit about football throughout the state as well. And it's an outstanding special guest. You don't want to miss it. We'll take a quick break and be right back. You're watching the Middle Georgia Sports Live Show. And welcome back into the Middle Georgia Sports Live Show. We've got next, a special guest, an exciting guest, Braden, that we've been trying to get on for a little while here, Mr. Phil Jones from ITG Next. And I'd like to welcome Mr. Phil and bring him on. Phil, how you doing tonight, man?
Hey guys, I'm doing great, man. Thanks so much for the invitation, guys. I'm honored, I'm humbled, and really enjoy what you guys do, man. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely, and we appreciate you joining us. Obviously, we're in the summer time frame here, and things have kind of slowed down just a little bit for us. And but it won't be long before things ramp back up. And I know you've been kind of working this summer to get a handle on how things look going into next year. But before we get into that, let's talk a little bit about what ITG Next is, what you've done with that brand, and where you see that going here in the future.
Yeah, absolutely. So ITG Next started out 18 years ago in South Georgia as a high school sports print magazine. In fact, we were known as In the Game High School Sports. And then we transitioned into a lot more content, a lot of additional content, digital. We still maintain a print and digital magazine. But basically, we provide a platform for the promotion of high school sports, all high school sports. But that's all we do. There's no college or football involved with us. So really, I guess you could sum it up and say we are a high school sports media company.
Awesome. Yeah. And I see you on social media all over the place, and all of your stuff looks great. It's exciting to kind of get you see in a lot of stores, especially when you're coming up on college football, all of the preseason magazines and different things like that, and seeing all that stuff from the high school level on social media that y'all put out is just a great product. Tell us a little bit about some of the stuff that you've been doing this summer, as far as with ITG Next, and what y'all been kind of prepping and gearing up for the season coming up.
Yeah, well, so to be honest with you, I touch a good bit of things across the company. I'm involved in our sales, so I'm out during the week selling sponsorships, which, we all have to have, got to keep the lights on, right?
Absolutely.
But I do a good bit of sales for us. Primarily, though, my responsibility is content. I'm a content provider, content creator. I create content. I write a lot of content. We do some video stuff, but primarily in the off season, we're looking for any kind of feature stories with athletes. High school football is really kind of our primary sport that we cover, because truthfully, it's really kind of become a year round.
Yeah.
We can talk. You can find enough to talk about high school football year round. It doesn't have to be just in the 3 or 4 months of the season anymore, like it used to be. But we cover all high school sports. We just produced a champions issue in our print and digital magazine, which included several of the state champions from various sports. So, but this summer, I host a once a week podcast. In fact, I just got through with it about an hour ago. It's Extra Point with Phil Jones. It's every Monday night from about 6 to 9. So I do that. But mainly just do a lot of writing, a lot of what you see on our platforms, on social media, our website. The majority of that is content that I've created. And we do a lot of graphics. So hopefully that answered your question. Just basically, I create content for us.
Yeah, that does. And it seems like that's obviously a skill set that you've got to have in today's marketplace, no doubt. In the medium that we're kind of working in, content creation, always driving those eyeballs to your social media. It's got to be there. So next thing that I wanted to move, I know we're Middle Georgia Sports Live. Obviously, you've talked with our sister company there with Georgia Alabama Sports Live over in the Columbus area, but we want to kind of hone in and focus a little bit on what you're seeing for this upcoming football season, maybe any other sports from a Middle Georgia perspective. So what's your thoughts on what you see out on Middle Georgia this coming year? Maybe talk a little bit about football, and then if you see anything from another sport that maybe piques your interest. But what are you looking at there? And are there any dark horses that we're not thinking about? Obviously, we've got some of the big ones that we normally focus on: the Houston Counties, the Warner Robins. Peach County is always one of those teams that's very good, but maybe some dark horses that we're not thinking of.
Well, this is going to sound a little crazy when it first comes out of my mouth, and you'll understand where I'm going here in a minute. But I think one of the dark horse teams this year will be Warner Robins, the Warner Robins Demons of Coach Shane Sams. Now, when you first hear that, you go, wait a minute, Warner Robins, a dark horse? But, that's kind of where the program has kind of gone to since Maurice Westbrook's left Warner Robins. You remember they had that great run of state championship appearances, and I don't know how many consecutive years they made it to the state finals, but then they dipped a little bit. And look, Shane Sams will be the first one to tell you he's a great head coach, but he's trying to get that program back up to snuff. And so I think in the here and the now, in the current present tense, I think Warner Robins is a dark horse team going into the 2026 season. Now, I've been impressed, though, with the quality of football there in Middle Georgia. You've got obviously you've got Perry, fresh off a state championship a couple of years ago under Coach Smith. He's done a great job. Remember, Perry used to be kind of the red-headed stepchild of Middle Georgia, especially of Houston County. Well, no more. That's not the case anymore. Houston County, the Bears, same way. You're probably looking at those two teams who were kind of, they were the ones that everybody was kicking sand in their face. Okay. Mm-hmm. Again, you had Northside, you had Warner Robins, trying to think of some other big time programs up there. Well, that trend kind of reversed a little bit. Now you got Peach County and Houston County, and Perry and Houston County, and of course Peach County is just a model of consistency. But there's some of the greatest football there in Middle Georgia. I'm so impressed with. I think Mary Persons is a team, though, to take a look at this year in terms of a dark horse. I know that they have, just completed a big, I don't know if it was a brand new facility or renovations to their facilities, but I saw somewhere where they had just completed that, So I think Mary Persons, they've kind of been off again, on again, but I think they're a program to watch. In 2026 when it comes to like a dark horse team.
That's some good insight there. Yeah, we actually, Braden, it's funny you mentioned that. Braden and I in the car yesterday got on Warner Robins and talked. They went, I believe it was 6 straight years to a state championship game. They won 2. They've gone to 13 as a program. They've won 6. Wow. So, and then they did a good job towards the end of the year last year. They had some tough defeats, but they turned it around and beat some teams that you didn't expect. They made a decent run there in the playoffs. They won a home playoff game. So the Demons, I could see that third year under Shane Sams kind of taking that next step. So that's a good pick there. Braden, you got anything for Phil?
Yeah, man, I want to shine a little bit of a spotlight on Bibb County, too. I know the past couple of years we've seen a little bit of turnaround. I don't know how much of that you've gotten to be able to be a part of, but, Northeast has made some deep runs. Central's got a new coach this year. We got Tayshawn Poole over at Howard. So what's kind of some of your thoughts on maybe some of those Bibb County schools you've been able to see them?
Yeah, Northeast is obviously the first team that comes to mind. Again, they've had that model of consistency. Who is the coach at North? I'm trying to remember his name.
Coach Wiggins.
Yeah, that's him. So I'm really impressed with the Northeast. I tell you, I'm trying to think of some of the other Bibb County schools. Where are the West and East Lawrence schools at? I guess that's what. Yeah,
they're down in Dublin, but West Lawrence was really good last year. They made it all the way to the semifinals, maybe. Lost to Jefferson, or no, to what's that school? I want to say it's Jefferson.
It was Jefferson
County. Yeah, Jefferson County in a very close ball game.
Yeah. So, and let me throw this in as well. And again, guys, I don't know if it's necessarily middle. You may be getting into more, closer to Atlanta, somewhere in there. But I don't know, Griffin. I don't know how you guys would classify the Griffin Bears. Obviously, a long history of success, and then they fell back. Had Kareem Reed up there at Griffin. Then of course he leaves, goes to McEachern. But I think Griffin is on their way back up, if indeed you guys consider them maybe a Middle Georgia. And I know it's kind of getting into a gray area there, but anyway,
they're definitely there on the edge. But yeah, I could definitely, and that's a team being from the Middle Georgia area like we both are. You see Griffin all the time because they are so close. Especially in the out of region contest for a lot of these schools here in the Macon and Houston County areas. But yeah, Griffin's always a great program. So traditionally,
yeah, Lamar County, I guess, is kind of in that same area, right?
Right.
Yeah, yep. Lamar County's kind of in that no man's land as well, and they've been very good.
Oh yeah,
and they do. Yeah. They play a lot of Bibb County schools this year. I think they're some region foes for some Bibb County schools. So we should see the Trojans quite a bit.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Who are some of the other Bibb County schools? Maybe that'll jog my brain a little bit.
You've got West Side, Southwest, Howard, Rutland. Who am I missing, Braden?
And Northeast and Howard.
Northeast, yeah. So those are and then obviously you got the Macon Privates, and Stratford had the big year last year with the state championship. And I would assume them and FPD are going to be kind of the class of 4A for GIAA as well. So that's kind of rounds out your Bibb County schools there. And Ace, can't forget about the Griffins up there in Ace.
We just did a couple of previews. We did one of the things that we do. I was talking to you guys, were asking me kind of what I've been doing. So I'm doing we do a lot of football previews for the upcoming season for individual teams. And just got through talking to the head coaches at FPD, and I'm trying to think of the other one there. Give me some of the other private schools there.
Tatnall, Stratford.
Stratford.
Stratford
and FPD, and what was it? Stratford that won the state championship?
Yes, sir. They beat Brookstone out of Columbus.
Yep. So anyway, we that area is very unique in terms of it's the private schools that really have the kind of the dominant programs, the more successful football programs. Am I right there, guys?
Yeah, I would say so. Tatnall traditionally has been outstanding in football. They've had a few down years by their standards. Stratford's been on the uptick, and FPD under Brett Collier has been very, very good and consistent. They've always made deep runs. They won it a couple of years ago. They were right there in the state championship against Bullock Academy. Was it in 23, Braden, I think, or 24? So, and then last year, I think they got to the semifinals. So, yeah, it's you're definitely on. I think you would have to go way back for another Bibb County school outside of the privates that won a state football championship. I want to say like maybe Central in the 70s, but you've had a lot of good individual athletes, I would say. And obviously Northeast has been the class of Bibb County public school for the last decade or so.
Where did Northeast won the championship 2 years ago?
Yeah.
And lost in the semis last year.
Coach Shedrick, Spoon?
Coach Spoon, yeah. Yeah, he's over at Macon County now. He left West Side, Macon.
No kidding.
Now he's at Macon County. He's a Bulldog.
What?
So he's starting fresh over there.
Is he the head coach?
Head coach, yep.
So he succeeded Kurt Williams, is that right? Or at Macon County?
Brett, do you remember who?
I can't remember who Macon County's head coach was. That sounds right, but yeah, he made the move this year, and it's funny. We actually got to see him. We went up and did an interview with their AD, and he was kind of getting ready to move on down to Macon County. And that's another program that's been very successful for the last 2 or 3 decades, are the Bulldogs over in Montezuma.
Yeah. What about the, and gosh, I hope I'm not taking y'all's time. I've turned the tables. I'm asking y'all the
you're
questions
good.
now.
You're
What about the big time private school up there that is coached by the former Georgia Bulldog in Middle Georgia?
Oh, you're talking about John Millage.
Yes, John Millage. Yes,
JT Wall.
JT Wall. That's him. Yep.
Yeah. So
they've been on quite a run. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, they have. They actually were vying for, I want to say, the record of consecutive wins there for a while. They got beat 2 years ago in the state championship game by Valwood. Then they had a disastrous year in 24, like one or 2 games, and they lost like 8 games by less than a touchdown, I want to say. And then they won it last year. They righted the ship. They actually have JT's son, Asa Walls, who's a linebacker, tight end. I want to say he's a 4-star, maybe. He's a stud. And they got some other good players around him, but he's definitely a feature for them, no doubt.
Yeah.
And I'm assuming he's going to be a Georgia Bulldog, you would think, with the legacy connection there.
Well, and then Westfield, you also had, going back to Westfield for a second, I know that I think there were a couple of the former coaches from Northside Warner Robins, I believe it was, that went to Westfield to coach. Kevin Kinsler was one. Yeah,
Coach Kinsler's no longer there. I forget where he ended up going. Yeah. But actually there now is Coach Chad Campbell that used to be at Peach County. He retired from public school, and his brother Lee Campbell, who won consecutive state championships at Hawkinsville, is the defensive coordinator there.
Wow.
And so they got kind of and I told Braden this yesterday. It's funny you bring that up. We were talking about Westfield, and I feel like as long as Coach Chad Campbell's there, they're going to put a quality team. They're probably going to be a 7-8 win team every year. That's just the kind of coach he is. They seem like they've got things rolling over there, and they're in there with John Millage, and they're going to have to slay that dragon, so to speak. But I think they're going to be one of the ones there at the end. They played in 2 or 3 straight semifinals under Coach Campbell, so they've been pretty consistent.
Gotcha.
What about down near your neck of the woods? I know this will change topics a little bit, but from you're down in the Valdosta area. So what do you see in South Georgia? I know you got the big bad bear over there in Thomasville with Thomas County Central. I know a lot of Houston County folks that would tune in to Middle Georgia Sports Live will be interested in them, considering they're a region foe. What are Thomas County? What do the Yellow Jackets look like this year? And what are some of the teams down there in the South Georgia area, in that dominant area of football? What's that going to look like this year?
Yeah, well, I'll go back. I'll start with Thomas County Central. You know, they've you've got that region 2-6A that they're a part of. That's got Houston County, got Lee County, and
it's got Tift County now too.
That's right. It sure does, Braden. Yeah. And man, that may be it is one of the most competitive region. That whole classification, guys. 6A, it is going to be an absolute joy to watch. That's some great football that's being played there. But to answer your question, Thomas County Central, they've been in the news for, of course, not only winning, but, they just went through this much ballyhooed story where they got the transfer quarterback from Rome, Aiden McPherson.
Yeah, I've been watching that.
Yeah, a lot of people have. And so, they've got a bona fide, well, I shouldn't say he's a really good quarterback, but they already had a really good quarterback in, I think his name was Hunter Waldrop. And so you've now got Aiden McPherson going to come in. and he'll be the starting quarterback, former run quarterback, and they say he is as good as advertised. And here's the thing. You and I are all three of us could quarterback Thomas County Central and probably still lead them to a state championship, But now they've got this young man who's just going to kind of be the icing on the cake. I mean, I am hearing that they may be better than they were last year, and they were very, very good last year. So it's going to be fun, though. You've got an impressive or improved Lee County team. I think it's going to be one of the best Lee County teams Dean Fabrizio has had. Jeremy Edwards at Houston County, he's going to have his guys right back in the mix. I'm a big believer in you are as successful as your quarterback takes you, or as your quarterback is. And I think they've got Ryan Maxwell at Houston County. First year starter last year, came in and did a fabulous job. He's got a year under his belt now. He's going to be even better. We talked about the quarterback there, Thomas County Central, Lee County. Now that's the one thing about Lee County; they don't really have that true devoted quarterback. They're probably going to use one of the running backs, that kind of thing, and basically do just the direct snap stuff.
Like a single wing type deal.
Yeah, like Wildcat.
Yeah.
Where you're on a permanent Wildcat. But anyway, it's going to be a lot of fun. But y'all switch over then to the main region. I say the main region that we're kind of right in the heart of, and that's Region 1-7A. Okay.
Yeah, that's going to be big this year.
Oh my gosh, Braden, you're not kidding. And here's the thing about it. You've got all these teams that are right there together. You've got Colquitt County. You've got Colquitt County. You've got Valdosta. You've got Lowndes. You've got Camden County. You've got Richmond Hill. Richmond Hill at some point they're going to step up and they're going to bite somebody. I mean, it's just, they're kind of sitting back, and they're kind of lulling everybody to sleep, guys, because they're kind of out there isolated by themselves. They don't get any respect. Matt Lozada, though, is quietly building one of the top programs in the state. I mean, they got these new facilities over there. It's the highest growing county in the state. Bryan County is. So, I mean, they're just building for success there. So at some point, they're going to step up. Whether it's this year, I'm not sure, but again, like last year, I had predicted that that region was going to really be anybody's for the taking. And I think we're looking at the same thing this year, guys. I don't think there's that one team that's head and shoulders above the others. I think Valdosta, they won the region, but it was a three-way tie last year between Valdosta, Colquitt, and Lowndes. And I think we're going to run into that same thing again this year, guys.
Yeah, how big will that Wintersville Classic be down there?
Oh my gosh!
I'm not quite sure what school it's going to be at, but I know it'll be well attended.
At Lowndes.
Yeah.
And I just want to tell you,
Jungle.
Yeah, Concrete Palace. Yeah. I want to tell you guys, listen, if you've never been to a Wintersville Classic, you've got to experience it. I don't know. That's all I got to say. It's just.
Yeah.
Words cannot describe the energy in that place, either stadium, Yeah. It is pure magic, guys.
So I lived down there for a couple of years when my wife was in graduate school. In fact, she lived right behind on Norman Drive, behind Lowndes High School. And so on Fridays, we would hear it when I'd go visit across the road. But yeah, I've never been to a Wintersville Classic. I have been to a Warner Robins Northside game, which back in the 90s was very, very well attended and a very crazy atmosphere. I can only imagine how that rivalry down in Valdosta and Lowndes County is. It's some great football played all around the state of Georgia, but specifically down there in South Georgia over the last 50, 60 years. It's been probably one of the best spots for high school football in the country.
No question. Colquitt County, what they've been able to do, and a lot of these programs down here, guys, too. They're all building these indoor practice facilities. That's kind of the big thing now that teams are trying to keep up. We call it the facilities race, the arms race, and that's what it is down here. Who can build the biggest and the brightest. And new indoor facility is just incredible.
Well, it's been great having you on. I think the three of us could probably talk for another hour and a half on all this. It's
Yeah.
talking about it has gotten me excited and ready for football season. I'll be honest. I'm ready to get to some sort of high school football, whether it be a scrimmage, a jamboree, or whatever. But man, Phil, I really appreciate you coming on and talking with us. We'll have you on as we again as we get closer to the start of the season, and obviously we'll have you on during the season. We'll talk a little bit about what's going on here in Middle Georgia and then around the state, as I know that the Middle Georgia folks will be interested to hear what you see and what you see out there as the season progresses, and where the teams here in Middle Georgia, who they may have to face down the road in the playoffs, because you never know who you might face off against.
Yeah, what do you guys think about the new PSR formula that's going to go into effect this year?
I like the idea. So GIAA, which we have covered extensively, doing some state championships and stuff, they've been using the ranking systems for a while now, and okay. I like it as long as there's some oversight to be able to make some adjustments. I don't know how much there is in that on the GHSA side. I know that GIAA they do have a committee that can meet, and if there's a ranking that they want to adjust, they can do that based on whatever rules that they have in place to do that. But I do like the idea of trying to get the best teams to play each other as far down in the bracket as you can. I really don't like to see – I really felt bad for let's take Houston County, for instance, last year. Braden and I actually covered their first-round playoff game, which was their first home playoff game ever, wasn't it, Braden?
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And so
first time.
They had to go on the road in the second round to play Rome.
Yeah.
I don't think you want Houston County and Rome playing in the second round. I think that should be one of those games where you see maybe an Elite Eight type game. And that's happened before. Other teams, you've had really the state championships in the semifinals before. And I think that's what you want to get to. You want to try to get the two best teams there at the end. You don't want to have a blowout in those later rounds where maybe a team snuck through because of how the seeding was. So perfect. I see that as a positive. Obviously, as we've seen across football field, they're going to tweak it year to year, I assume, or at least however often it comes up to look at it. I don't know how long it's set for, but yeah, I see it as a positive, no doubt. Braden, what's your thoughts?
I mean, I'm kind of right there with you. I do think that there's pros and cons to it. I do like the idea of, like you said, trying to have the better teams playing later in the bracket so you don't have all these random blowouts like we've been seeing the past couple of years. But I do think there does need to be that oversight, like you said, so that certain teams don't get higher or lower rankings than they should, and making sure that everything's accurate the way it needs to be.
Well guys, let me add this, if you don't mind, and I promise I'll be quiet.
Absolutely.
But here's another thing that I'm really looking forward to, which the last few years, teams were, I felt like teams were manipulating their potential seeding, because they could see the bracket. Okay, bracket would be set up, and teams could look and say, "Well, gosh, man, if I'm the number 4 seed, I'll have a better shot." And I'm actually using an example. I'm not going to mention the team, but this actually happened at least once, and I know that coaches have told me this. Instead of having it used to be where it was 1, 2, 3, 4 top 4 seeds in the region would go to the playoffs. Well, the coach would look and say, "Man, if we get the 3 seed, we're going to have a chance to have to play, like you mentioned, that Houston County Rome game up in Rome in round 2." They don't want that. So if it means a team finishing in the bottom of the region, still making the playoffs, and getting an easier draw, then they've been able to manipulate their seeding and do that. And the new system is going to prevent that. And that's one of the things that I like.
Yeah, I agree with you.
The one thing I agree with that wholeheartedly. The one thing I wonder, and I've heard some coaches talk in other sports I know on the private school side, with the rankings, they've had some folks who didn't want to schedule them because it brought down their strength of schedule. Or no, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
It was a no win for some of the bigger schools because if say a Tatnall beats a public school team that's really good in baseball, Tatnall may not be viewed by the computers. I'm using them as an example, as strong as maybe another public school team. And so there's not. I wonder if you get into this thing where you don't incentivize some schools to go and play some other schools that you. And how many of the cross classification games are you going to see? Is there any benefit for like a 7A school down in South Georgia to go over and play Thomas County Central? Does that help you any, even if you lose to them? I don't know what the answer to those things are. And is that somewhere where they're going to try to game the system, if you will, in scheduling?
Yeah, fair point. Yeah, very fair point. And here's the thing about it. I think that, this is obviously a 2-year, like all the classification cycles are 2 years, right?
Right.
This will be a true guinea pig 2-year trial and error base for GHSA to seriously look and see, is this working? Is it not working? There's already been talk of, we got to fix it right out of the gate, because people can sense that there's probably going to be some issues that'll have to get worked out. So I guess that's to your point, what you're talking about there, trying to find out, what's going to work, what's not going to work. So,
right. Yeah, I think anytime you have any kind of system, you're going to always have folks who try to find a way to best suit their team. Right. I think all of us would want the best for our particular teams. That's just human nature. Yeah. But
yes, right.
One thing that we didn't talk about that I do think that it helps out again is, to me, if you're talking about a region like Houston County, Thomas County Central, or even the 7A region down there in South Georgia, you potentially have an opportunity for where more than just the top 2 teams in that region could host, as opposed to having just the 1 and 2 seed host the first round or maybe 2, and the 3 and 4 have to go on the road the whole time because they may end up being a higher seed in the power rankings than another team.
That's right. Yeah. There are a lot of little, inconsistencies. I don't know if that's the right word, but there's a lot of little idiosyncrasies, I think is probably the right word to use, that they're going to have to kind of get sorted out, and they're going to have to do it on the fly, guys. But again, that lack of, predicting and forecasting where you're going to play, who you're going to play. I like the fact there's going to be more spontaneity when it comes to the postseason, who you're playing. Boom, here you go. And right. I like that. I really like that a lot because I think that part of it has really been manipulated to a point where I just don't feel comfortable with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'm looking forward to it, man. You got me talking about this. I know we're in late part of June, but man, it'll be here. It'll be here before you know it. We'll be kicked off and halfway through the first couple weeks before we blink, and we'll be hoping that football season slows down a little bit once it gets going because it always seems to fly by.
Exactly, guys, and you're right. And if y'all are like me, we start earlier and earlier. I just mentioned earlier how high school football season, kind of for us, has become a year-round thing. And so, gosh, man, we're starting to talk schedules in March and April. And so by the time we get to this point, we're ready, man. Let's go.
Oh, yeah.
And we've still got, 8 weeks or something like
we still just got to sit here and wait on it. We know who's playing when. We're excited. But we just got to sit here in anticipation.
Like a kid. Kid for Christmas. But appreciate you, Phil, for joining us. We'll definitely have you back on as we get closer to the football season. He's Phil Jones with ITG Next. Thanks so much for joining us. We'll take a quick break. We'll come back and wrap up the show. You're watching the Middle Georgia Sports Live weekly show.
And we're back on the Middle Georgia Sports Live Show, and what a great segment we just had with Phil Jones from ITG Next. Football genius, Brett. I mean, we had a great time catching up with him and being able to talk about what this year might look like, what some of those teams are going to look like, and then kind of spread out and talk about the rest of the state.
Yeah, I mean, it was outstanding time spending with Phil. He's got a wealth of knowledge, been covering the game for a long time, and hopefully we'll be able to have Phil back on as we get closer to the start of football season, and then we'll have him on throughout the year as well to just talk shop, talk about football and what's going on week to week, and see pick his brain a little bit and see where everything lies, what he thinks is going to happen as we head into I'm telling you what, once football gets here, and I said it earlier, you want it to slow down because it just seems like it goes so quick, and you've been waiting for it so long. But man, I'm excited. That segment got me fired up, ready for football. I can't wait, man.
Yeah, man, I'm excited too, but I'm now excited to end this show. That's going to do it for this week's episode of the Middle Georgia Sports Live Show. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. It's Brett Taylor, Braden Holder. We'll see you next time.